who's the president of the National Alliance to End Homelessness, urges the state to increase housing units by 25,000. In order for this to happen, it would cost $6.4 billion to provide the resources and services. Now that you understand that the problem in our community is growing rampant, understand why our homeless veterans are coming about. The lack of health care provided to our veterans is becoming a big issue. Dr. Ronald Maris, who is a professor at Emeritus University in South Carolina, gave a congressional testimony in May of 2008 stating his findings on the studies of the lack of health care given to our veterans. Mainly, his focus was on the fact that amongst most veterans, post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, is most common amongst our homeless veterans. PTSD is a mild, subtle mental illness that in some homeless veterans can actually shut out everybody in their life. And if they shut everybody out in their life, why would they need to seek medical care? Second, the lack of housing in this state has become very apparent. In a federal report released September 2008, it revealed that the VA owns real estate all over the country that is being leased out to private sectors for big dollars. And in another report posted by Los Angeles Times in 2006, it confirmed that an area of Skid Row is being used for movie sets and not homeless shelters. Finally, the lack of support that is given to our veterans when they come out. The same article from the San Francisco Chronicle interviewed two homeless veterans. James Holmes, a 51-year-old homeless vet who served in Vietnam, was discharged, got married, and his wife was killed in a car accident. His life turned to drugs and alcohol and resulted in depression. And to this day, nothing's changed. No one cared to intervene. This is a tragic example of the military structured life transitioning into the civilian world of the free-for-all. In the second part of that report, Michael Garcia, who also is an Army veteran, served in Lebanon. And when he was discharged, he was classified as too dysfunctional for society. And he returned home, and his friends avoided him. He had no family. The only family he had was meth and alcohol. And before he attempted to commit suicide, he checked himself into the San Francisco VA Center. And all he said was simply, "I just wanted someone to talk to." Now that you understand that the problems and the causes of our homeless veterans is real, I want to let you know that you have the ability to end all of this and help make an impact on our homeless veterans. There are many programs out there that we can join and that we should know about. The National Coalition for Housing Veterans is one program which is based in San Diego, California. And one major program that they have created is the Stand Down program. The Stand Down program is a military term used during wartime for when soldiers come back to base camp for a 24 to 72-hour period to renew their bodies, their spirits, and to get some personal hygiene done. It's the holiday season, and donations are always welcome in the forms of clothing, food, money, but most of all, time. Donating your time to a veteran says much more than compared to the time they served defending your freedom. And lastly, contacting your community and local officials and asking them, what is happening in our community? What can I do to help? And how can we make this stop from happening again? Being a veteran myself, I can't just stand there and sit by and watch my brothers and sisters fall into a cruel world of homelessness. Today, I've talked about the problems of homeless veterans in your community. We've contested the causes of this injustice that is brought upon our defenders of freedom. And finally, we've strengthened your ability to help our veterans put a roof over their heads. If anyone's interested in joining me on making an impact on this dishonorable problem, see me after class. And luckily, that guy that was standing at the 60 freeway at the Grand Off-Ramp, Robert Harris, was able to get the support he needed from a friend of mine, because my friend remembered when he almost became that person.
In the article, Video Games, Is Your Child an Addict? Leslie Brody talks about a young high school student who got a video game system for the beginning year of his senior year in high school. And by the end of the year, he pretty much flunked out of all of his classes because he was playing games too much. The addiction got to such a point that he was actually waking up at the middle of the night to play games so that his parents would not know. Today, I'm going to talk to you about video game addiction and how it is a big problem in our society. In the article, Millions of Kids Hooked, Bill Hendrick talks about, or Dr. Sanders talks about how video game is a big problem. Alcohol addiction is a big problem, drug addiction is a big problem, gambling is a big problem, and the government recognizes that. But at the same time, the government does not recognize the idea that video game addiction is a big problem. There's no classes for it. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the problems of video game addiction. Then I'm going to lead on to the causes of video game addiction. And finally end the note with some solutions that we can all do to help ourselves and our friends and family members from being addicted to video games. Let's start out by talking about the problems of video game addiction. In the article, Killing Time with Killing Games, Kim Gray talks about how students consistently keep playing games to pass time. And it's because of this that they cannot really manage their time. And video game addiction is playing video games for long amounts of time. And because of that, kids start losing their eyesight, they start getting glasses. They're not able to watch their weight because of the fact that they're consistently eating junk food while playing games. And and they're able to and they lose their academic status because of and all of us want our children to be successful in life. And in today's society, with so many things that are going on, we need good time management. And if you have any sort of addiction, especially video game addiction, you're not going to have good time management because of the fact that you'll be playing a lot of games, and it's relating in bad education. Another problem with video game addiction is the fact that children do get obese because they play video games way too much. In the article, Obesity Keeps Climbing, John Farber talks about how kids now tend to stay at home once they get out of classes, and they start playing video games as soon as they get home. They actually play more games than watch television now, the older they get, especially young teenagers. And this leads to kids they don't exercise as much, they don't go out and play sports, they kind of stuck in their little world. And video games, usually people play single player, so they're kind of stuck, they're socially isolated into their own little rooms. In the article, Obesity Has